Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Kitchings Table. I'm your host, Earl Kitchings. As always, on Tuesday mornings, we like to bring you something informative, something newsworthy, something entertaining. We roll the dice because we never know. It just happens. We trust me. It just happens. We don't pick sometimes a week out. We kind of let the news happen as it does, and if something else pops up, then we'll just run with that. But that's what happens. So we welcome you to our show this morning, and as always, we're happy to have you with us. As always, joining me, my co-host, Ms. Ronline Cannady. Ronline, good morning, and welcome to another episode, I guess.
Yes, it is. And good morning. Thank you for what you do.
Well, we do what we do, and that's what we do. So, Ronline, let me ask you a question. I want you to think back to your childhood, and I want you to think about what was your favorite cartoon character or your favorite cartoon, either way.
Okay. Favorite cartoon is I love the can't think of them right now. They were always solving mysteries, and I was looking forward to what crazy thing that Shaggy was going to do.
Oh, that sounds like
Scooby Doo,
Scooby
Scooby
Doo.
Doo, Scooby Doo.
Scooby Doo.
Hmm.
That was your favorite cartoon?
That was my favorite.
And the character was the dog the favorite character in that cartoon, or was it
No, it
somebody
was
else?
Shaggy. Shaggy was
Shaggy?
always coming unglued.
I see. All right. Kind of the back in my time, the beatnik kind of guy, the guy from the 60s age, the long haired hippie. I guess that would be a good description of him, the hippie.
Oh, okay.
Well, I got to tell you, Scooby Doo is not on my top 10.
Understood.
If I have to identify my favorite cartoon, that will probably be the one, the only Bugs Bunny.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Bugs Bunny. I mean, Bugs Bunny was
So
that
I
guy.
understand. I understand. There was a lot
I
of
mean,
excitement. You can depend on it for the excitement.
Bugs, without think you, outsmart you, no matter what you came up with, he had a solution that would be better than yours or top yours, and no matter who came on. But I think in totality, the cartoons, aka Looney Tunes, came out. I think they were under the Warner Brothers banner, and they
Okay.
had several characters that came on those cartoons that were always entertaining.
Hmm.
Daffy Duck, Foghorn Leghorn, the Big Rooster, Porky Pig, Yosemite Sam. There's Pepe Le Pew, uh, the Road Runner, Wile Coyote. They just had a boatload of guys, characters,
Yeah,
and
I agree with that. I mean, it was always exciting to watch, and you're right. I love the mystery things. So just to see how all of them work together, it was and what kind of solutions they were going to come up with. Yeah, I enjoyed all of that too.
yeah, the other character I was trying to think of was Speedy Gonzalez.
Speedy Gonzalez, yes.
Speedy Gonzalez. So when you delve into who these characters were, you had a rabbit, a rooster, a duck, a mouse. You had a old time guy like gold miner, which would have been Yosemite Sam. You had a pig, which was Porky Pig, who was tie tongue and couldn't get out. Elmer Fudd, you
Yeah,
know,
that was one. Uh-huh.
you know. So you had all these characters, and the voices for all those characters was one guy.
One guy?
One guy did all those voices, and that's how good he was. And his name was Mel Blanc, and he was the voice behind those characters. So that would probably be favorite of all time, followed by, I guess, the next group of cartoon characters may have been uh, the group that dealt with Yogi Bear,
Mm-hmm.
Yogi Bear and Boo Boo. Uh, I'm trying to Snagglepuss, the mountain lion, I guess, if you will. Augie Doggy and Doggy Daddy, the two dogs. So when we look at the characters that we came up with in our childhood, and most of them were animal characters, not many human characters. They were all entertaining. Tom and Jerry, they iconic. A cat and a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
I give you another one I forgot from the Warner Brothers, Tweety Bird and Sylvester. Tweety Bird, the bird, and Sylvester the cat.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these characters had us kind of wrapped around their features. I mean, they would come on and we would just sit there and watch them, you know, hours on end if we could. And then on Saturdays, you get up on Saturday mornings, and man, from 8 o'clock until noon, it was cartoon after cartoon after cartoon. And
Yes.
those, shaped our Saturday mornings, unless you had that Saturday where it's time to do that house cleaning, and there was no cartoons that morning. You can forget that. But these were the characters that we grew up with, and as time went on, we started seeing, more human characters. And you look at some of the human characters that came along. You said Scooby Doo, which were all human characters except for the dog. I think about one cartoon that was not funny. It was adventure, and that would have been Johnny Quest.
Oh, I remember that.
Johnny
Okay.
Quest, and then Space Ghost.
Mm.
So superheroes to adventure to funny, and we just kind of had a boatload that we had, and then on weekday afternoons, if you before you might go outside to play after you did your chores for some of us, there was the cartoon Popeye,
Right.
eh, Popeye the Sailor, and Popeye the Sailor had an arch enemy or somebody he always dealt with who was Brutus. So Brutus was the big strong guy. Popeye was not, although he had those big forearms. But Popeye had that one thing that after Brutus finished beating him up, he always kept that can of spinach in his shirt, and he'd pop open that can of spinach, and then he turned into Super Popeye and beat Brutus up, and it was just entertaining. Uh, and the other part about Popeye that was funny was the fact that his girlfriend in that was as big as a pencil, and her name was Olive Oil.
Mm-hmm.
So these are all the characters that we dealt with in our childhood that gave us the funny part. And then when we talk about the comic books and the superheroes, so uh, before I get to the superheroes, I'm going to ask you what may have been that favorite black cartoon or black animated cartoon feature that you enjoyed. Do you
Now
remember?
that's the point. I didn't have one. I didn't see it.
Oh, now you saw that.
I did
I'm,
not.
I'm, I'm gonna throw it out there, and you're gonna be like, "Oh yeah." You didn't grow up watching the Jacksons cartoon.
No.
You never saw the Jacksons cartoon?
No.
Really? That's unbelievable. Okay, well, the Jackson Five, they came up with a cartoon series for them, and they would mix in the cartoons with their songs.
Wow.
Which
How in the world did I mix that?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you were. I guess you were on lockdown. Your TV was like, no, you can't watch TV. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know because that should have definitely been, yeah, in your. I don't know. Maybe that came along a little bit too early for you. I don't because this might have been in the early 70s. Yeah,
Hmm. So if
early
that was
70s.
early 70s,
Yeah, I mean, I know they were around before I got out of high school, so I know they had to be the early 70s.
okay, well, yeah, I missed that. How long
Okay.
did they stay in syndication?
Mm, I'm gonna guess, and I've got it here on our information for today. I'm gonna guess they may have been around for about 3 years.
Yeah, see, yeah, that would explain things. That would explain things. I don't think I started getting into cartoons until I was about 10, 10 or 11.
Okay.
And you're right, my Saturdays were structured.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the
Hmm.
Jackson Fives only came on Saturdays.
Okay.
So, and then another cartoon that was popular was the Harlem Globetrotters. They had a cartoon.
Okay. Now, my earliest memory of the Globetrotters was actually going when they would come to Chicago. I would go
Okay.
see them.
Right.
Yeah, but as far as the cartoon, no, I missed that too.
Okay. And because when you think about it, it's like you took a basketball team and made a cartoon out of them.
Mm, I would have
Okay.
loved to
And
see that.
the most renowned basketball team in the whole world. I mean, because they're not called the Harlem Globetrotters for nothing. They travel and played in countries around the world.
Hmm.
So if basketball was ever to be seen in a country, American basketball was ever to be seen, it was a team that had red, white, and blue uniforms with stars on it, and they called themselves the Harlem from Harlem, New York,
Hmm.
Globetrotters, which means you travel around the world. So they
Mm.
had a cartoon, and then of course I would have to give this the most iconic, most revered cartoon series that we had as a black cartoon series that played for about 15 years almost, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids.
Now that okay, now that I did see, I did see that.
So, and I want to give a note about that particular cartoon series because when we talk about that particular series, it was all derived from the mind of Bill Cosby.
Hmm.
And Bill Cosby's monologues and his comedy routines, uh, that cartoon came from his comedy monologues and routines because uh, on one or two of his albums that he started producing, because let's just be honest, aside from the troubles Bill Cosby had in his latter years, Bill Cosby was an iconic black entertainer that I don't think always, gets the proper due that he deserves. I know we remember his last popular TV show, The Cosby Show.
Hmm.
But before The Cosby Show, Ronline, he had done so much before that in entertainment. And he had covered it all.
Hmm.
And I don't think, people want to, bash him for his legal troubles and what he did, but put that over here in a corner. Okay, put that in a corner. Okay, that's a personal thing that he did. Okay, but all the other things that he did, starting with his comedy, and with comedy you start on stage and you hopefully can go from small places that you play to big places to the major stage. Uh, and I'm not sure if he spent a whole lot of time doing his comedy on stage. And if he did, I never heard about it. My first exposure to Bill Cosby was from his album. Now, think about this, an album, a comedy album called RIGHT with an exclamation point.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, he came out with subsequent albums. And in his albums, maybe his second, definitely by his third album, he had brought the characters from his childhood of growing up in Philadelphia. And that's where we became familiar with the biggest guy in the neighborhood, Fat Albert.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he's got these albums. But prior to that, Bill Cosby he was on a TV show, a drama called I Spy. He had a sitcom. He had a variety show. He had a variety show after that. I'm sorry, a sitcom after that one. You got these albums, his comedy albums. Then all of a sudden, his cartoon, the Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids cartoon. And they took those images and turned them into cartoons. And they had stories in them that were positive stories about all these kids that he grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at the dynamics of a man who had his PhD at a time when okay, you get your PhD, but he went into a whole different direction with entertainment. Even though he's got his PhD, he used that and went into entertainment
Mm-hmm.
and created. So you didn't hear about him for a while, then all of a sudden he resurfaces with the Cosby Show with this family, this black family, and boom, became one of the most popular TV sitcoms to ever come on TV.
Right.
So for all he did, his body of work, and I know this may be a little bit off the topic, but it relates to the fact that, hey, he created a black cartoon series that went on for almost 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to Bill Cosby. I'm just going to call it out like that. Aside from what we put in the corner there, his legal issues later on in life, his body of work was tremendous. Tremendous. And it was a growth process from records to TV to more TV, even from the fact that, Ronline, do you remember the movies he played in?
Yes, some of them, yes.
Let's Do It Again,
Mm-hmm.
Uptown Saturday Night. He was always in there with who? Sidney Poitier.
Mm-hmm.
So his body of work is just, I can't think of another entertainer who has that body of work like him from all he did. But his cartoon series, man, the Cosby Kids, and before you saw it actually in animation, you had already seen those characters in your mind from his albums, because when you first heard him do Fat Albert on his album, you just pictured the biggest kid in your neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
the fattest kid in the neighborhood. And that was, hey, they didn't call him Big Albert, they called him Fat Albert.
Mm-hmm.
And his first time coming on his album and you heard Fat Albert, all you heard was, hey, hey, hey.
Yeah.
Here comes Fat Albert. Hey, hey, hey.
Mm-hmm.
So that would probably be one of the most dynamic cartoons, black cartoons, or just cartoons in general. Let's put it beyond just black cartoons. So, and then, Ronline, let me just ask you this. Now, when we were coming up, we had comic books.
Mm-hmm.
and you could buy comic books out of the stores. You
Right.
could go. I know for a fact you could buy them out of Walgreens or places like that. I don't know if you can do that like that anymore, but uh, superheroes,
Mm-hmm.
superheroes. We came up with many superheroes, and I think everyone's first superhero was the guy with the big S on his chest,
Right. Superman.
Superman. Okay, wait. You break that down as like Superman. Okay, break that down into two words. Superman.
Man.
He was a super man.
Man. Mm-hmm.
Okay, his powers, you know, and the fact that there was a TV show called Superman, a black and white TV show, Superman, where Clark Kent would dive into a phone booth and the funny part about that is Bill Cosby did a spoof on that on one of his albums where here's Superman and he goes into the phone booth and a wino walks up to him and like, "What are you doing in there, man? What are you changing clothes?" So and the thing about Bill Cosby was all his comedy was very PG,
Mm-hmm.
very PG. You never had to worry about it being distasteful because he could talk about common things and family things that we all could relate to that just made it funny. He didn't need any vulgar language to be funny. It's funny. I mean, so going back to Fat Albert, his brother Rudy, uh, Old Will Harrell, uh, everybody in that, Mushmouth, all these characters he brought to life in this cartoon. And then they spun that into a movie that Kenan Thompson played in, Fat Albert.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, but going back to the superheroes, Superman was first. I think Batman might have been second. Of course, Batman became a TV show. But when we look at all these superheroes, many of them were men. Many of them were men until we got to, I don't know if you would call her a superhero or not. She definitely was a villain. You had to have a villain. You got a superhero, you got to have a villain. Got to be a bad guy. It can't be just all good. It's got to be somebody. So,
Are you talking about Catwoman?
yes, Catwoman. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
if you say it in one word, it's Catwoman. But if you say it in
Mm-hmm.
two words, it's Catwoman.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Catwoman was a villain that was apart from, and I don't know if we really can call Batman a superhero from the standpoint of all the other heroes who were called superheroes had some kind of power. You
Mm-hmm.
know, everybody had a powers. Batman didn't really have a power. He had a belt. He had a car, helicopter, motorcycle, boat, all these things, but he didn't have a superpower. He could not fly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he could not run as fast as Flash. He could not swim through the water at supersonic speeds. He was not Iron Man. He was not the Hulk. He didn't have the suit, but they put him in that superhero because, hey, he fought the forces of evil in Gotham City. So, if you had to select a superhero, who would that be? And I'm gonna just expand it, not from just back then, but all the way till today, because I know a lot of people have become fans of one particular superhero over the last 5 to 6 years, 5 to 8 years, maybe. But superhero, name your superhero.
All right. So from back in the day, it was the Hulk.
Okay,
Um, now, let's see. What was the one for Don Cheadle? Don Cheadle became part of the Marvel comics, and I became that's when I got
Don
into.
Don Cheadle or Chadwick Boseman?
Oh,
Boseman.
so must been. Well, was Don Cheadle in that too?
I don't remember Don Cheadle being in a
Okay, all right.
superhero. Superhero.
I'll Yeah, I'll
But
research that and get back.
Chadwick
But Chadwick, if that was Chad's, nah, I
Chadwick Boswick. Yeah.
thought okay.
And he was who?
Talking about the Black Panther.
There we go.
Okay, but no, what I'm thinking about is Don Cheadle was supporting. I can't think of this man's name. This uh, Downey Jr.
Oh, you're talking about he was in the Iron Man. He was in the Iron Man
Okay, yeah, yeah.
movie, but I don't know if he was a superhero. I think he was just in the movie.
Okay, yeah. So he was supporting the Iron Man. But
Right.
yes, when Black Panther came on the scene, that just wiped everything out. So thank you for bringing back the late Mr. Boseman. He left here too soon. I was
Yeah.
really looking forward to any work that he had
Yeah.
done.
Chadwick Boseman was man. That guy played some movie roles that put him out there.
Yes,
I
yes,
mean, he
yes.
played two iconic movie roles that put him out there. Jackie Robinson and James
Mm-hmm.
Brown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes.
You
Yes. I
played.
was
Go ahead.
and then when he played in Ma Rainey, the Black Bottom, Ma
Oh
Rainey's
yeah.
Black Bottom,
Okay.
that that just told me how versatile he was.
Okay. All
And
right.
yeah, it just broke my heart when I found out he passed away. And then to do the work that he had done, Earl, while he was sick,
Yep.
and being sick was the best kept secret. I mean, the
Yep.
people who were surrounding him, they helped him get through it. And oh man, I'm very grateful today when I pull up his name and just to see how much work he has been able to contribute to our stream so that we can watch, have some entertainment and just know that everybody has real struggles, but to work through them, like it's nobody's business kind of
Right.
thing in the real sector. So thank you for bringing his name up.
Well, bringing him up is definitely uh, something powerful. And with him being ill the way he was and still carrying him, he was a superhero.
Yes.
Let's just be honest about that.
Mm-hmm.
My superhero would have been the guy, the Submariner, who was
Okay.
the equivalent to what we know as Aquaman,
Okay.
the Submariner. That would have probably been mine. But let me just share this name. Well, let's go to break, and then when we come out of break, I'll go into a black cartoonist pioneer. This is the Kitchings Table every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. You can join us for topics of interest, information, education, humor. We cover the gamut. We don't care. We want to make sure that we have probably one of the most diverse shows, podcasts, whatever you want to call us, that you can find. Our topics span the gamut. We do every and anything we think may be of interest to our fans or people who are watching and catching the show. We're not limited. And that's the beautiful thing about what we do here at the Kitchings Table. Just like when you go to your Kitchings Table to discuss your family uh, matters, your bills, or your kids, or whatever, you go to your Kitchens Table and discuss it all. Well, that's what we do here at the Kitchings Table. We discuss it all. And we're happy to bring you that format on this media platform. As always, joining me is my co-host, Miss Ronline Cannady. So we talk about it and have some fun while we're doing it. And today we're talking about black cartoonists. So, Ronline, I want to give you the name of a black cartoon pioneer. And she is probably the first black cartoonist of note. And her name is Jackie Orms, Ormes. She is known as the first African American woman cartoonist and creator of the Torchy Brown comic strip and the Patty Joe and Ginger panel.
Mm.
Jackie Orms. Not only was she a cartoonist, she got her start uh, after she started doing some editing of art in high school. She went on to work for the Pittsburgh Courier, and that's where she got her start doing a comic strip for them. Uh, that ended, and she went to the Chicago Defender. That ended, and she came back to the Pittsburgh Courier. But then she came up with her own doll, and her doll was called the Patty Joe doll. And she contracted with a company back in 1947, Ronline. 1947, this black woman created a comic strip, a cartoon strip that ran from 1945 to 1956. But in 47, she came up with her doll called the Patty Joe doll. She contracted with the Terry Lee Doll Company and is based on her little girl cartoon character. And the Patty Joe doll uh, was put on shelves just in time for Christmas and was the first American black doll to have extensive upscale wardrobe. This doll represented a real child in contrast to majority dolls that were, as they said back in the day, mammy and topsy type dolls, with the crazy hairstyles and the worn, tattered clothes. It is said that the Patty Joe doll were both popular with black and white children.
Mm.
And in 1949, in December, ironically, Miss Orm's contract with the Terry Lee Company was not renewed and production ended. So if you find that particular doll somewhere, let me tell you, you are sitting, and I hate to turn it into a monetary thing, but I know that's what somebody's going to do. You are sitting on a gold mine
Mm.
because it is a treasured commodity. The Patty Joe doll, created by Jackie Orms, who was a pioneer black cartoonist back in the 40s. So in 2020, uh, Google Doodle, and Google Doodle is a special temporary alteration of for Google homepage, and it commemorated her on their homepage for the work that she had done, Miss Jackie Orms. And you can see, based on that picture, she was stylish.
Yes.
She was stylish. So kudos to her for being that pioneer, that person we don't know much about. People haven't talked about her enough for us to know her. And to come up with a cartoon strip, Torchy Brown, back in the 40s, and of course in the South, we definitely wouldn't have known anything about her cartoon strip. But in Chicago, it was out there in the Chicago Defender and in the Pittsburgh Courier. And as it's on the screen, it was not just a comic strip, but it was color comic strip. And the fact that it was done this way so tastefully and so powerful is just unbelievable. So kudos to Miss Jackie Orms, and thank you for being that pioneer. But since then, Ronline, there have been many, 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 many black cartoonists and black animators and pioneers in this field. And I'm gonna just run through a few of them. Taylor Shaw, she's a female, is the founder and CEO of the Black Woman Animate. Uh, she has a website, and it's the first and only animation studio designed to improve the representation of Black women in the animation business.
Mm.
Taylor Shaw. Then there's Peter Ramsey, best known for his film Rise of the Guardians, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. He won an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature for the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Peter Ramsey. Pilar Newton, freelance writer. Cartoon Network's Courage the Cowardly Dog. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Pilar, Pilar Newton. Floyd Newman, from back in 57, the first African American artist at the Walt Disney Company.
Mm.
1957, Floyd Newman. So you know he is a powerful guy to work with the Disney Company. And he contributed to Sleeping Beauty, 101 Dalmatians, The Jungle Book. At 66, he left Disney to co-found Vignette Films, one of the first companies to make films about Black history. There you go, about the documentary. There you go. Floyd Norman. It says later he returned back to Disney and worked on such films as Mulan and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. He even worked with Pixar on Toy Story 2 and Monsters. Floyd Norman. So, and then finally, I want to bring out a guy by the name of Bruce W. Smith, created and directed Disney Channel's The Proud Family, founded Jambalaya Studios for the production of his series, and The Proud Family was Disney Channel's first animated series with a young Black girl as the lead. So we've got pioneers who have done some things, and we don't always hear about them, but they have been out there. Now, we see comic strips if you get the newspaper, and yes, they still print newspapers. For those of you like newspaper, they still do that. Yes, they still print newspapers, and they still print that page in newspapers called the comic page, where you have all these strips. So the guy who probably is most well known for being on a comic page with comic strips is Aaron Vincent Magruder. Do you know what comic strip he created, Ronline?
Actually, I thought you were going to talk about the Charlie Brown one.
No, Charlie Brown was not created. That was
Charles was Schultz.
Charles Schultz, but he
Okay.
was a white animator. He's not a black.
Okay.
So Aaron Vincent Magruder, American writer, cartoonist, and producer, and best known for creating the Boondocks.
Boondocks.
The
Okay.
Boondocks, a Universal Press syndicated comic strip, and also an animated TV series adaptation. Aaron Magruder. So if you ever go into the newspaper and you see the Boondocks, or you've seen it, or you see the TV show or what, he is probably the most known black cartoonist for the strips. But he's also going into the adult animated sitcom cartoon industry with his Boondocks and on the Cartoon Network. So I guess if you want to just watch all the cartoons and see what's out there, I guess the Cartoon Network is where you need to go if you're going on TV or if you're on your computer.
Okay.
But look up Aaron Magruder. He graduated with a degree in African American Studies from the University of Maryland. And the Boondocks began in 1996. and he has had a lot of success with that. The Boondocks by Aaron Magruder. And when we talked about the cartoon animations, and like I said, the Cosby Kids, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids ran from 1972 to 1985. Then we had the animated cartoon called Black Dynamite, which was a parody to the black exploitation films, Black Dynamite. There's a show called animated show called The Cleveland Show, which was a spinoff of Family Guy, and the Adventures of Cleveland Brown, a black character from the Family Guy series. And the Cleveland Show tackled issues of race and identity with a mixture of humor and heart. Bebe Kids. Now, I know you know Bebe Kids, right? You know where Bebe Kids came from, right?
Yes, Robin Harris,
Robin Harris.
the
And that,
comedian, the late
that
comedian Robin
late
Harris.
comedian Robin Harris came up with Bebe Kids. That was in 1992. And when that came out, I think everybody just were entertained by Robin Harris doing Bebe Kids. And the proverbial question when he took his date out and she got all these extra kids and like, well, who kids are these? And she was like, them Bebe kids. Well, where Bebe? That's just the way he said, where Bebe?
Bebe, yeah.
Why she ain't got her kids? You know, because he's taking his date and her kid or kids, I think she might have had two kids, to Disneyland, but now she's got like three other kids with her, and they're going to Disneyland, and Bebe kids just act totally out. They tear Disneyland up, walking around, and his famous line of "Small World."
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know about Small World, Disney came out with a animated, a robotic venue called "It's a Small World," and Bebe Kids, they just tore that particular thing up. Walking around Disney World and Disneyland rather. So Bebe Kids, Robin Harris, that was truly funny. But again, Fillmore was one, and then Wayne Head was another. But the longest running black cartoon animated feature on TV was Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, followed by Boondocks. So those are those shows, and then we get into the superheroes. Now, Ronline, interestingly enough, just so I want to be fair, because I know folks will be like, well, you didn't talk about, why is it just always the men? So we talk about the black superheroes, and there were quite a few. There, if you go online and just type in black superheroes, you'll see there are like 30 top black superheroes, and they pair all the way down to the number one black superhero. And who might that be? T'Challa, the Black Panther.
Black Panther.
The Black Panther. And when they made the movie The Black Panther, T'Challa and the Black Panther and everything, just went off the chain. Wakanda became a household name, and the Black Panther became that superhero for black kids and black people. But there's also the number one black female superhero. So I wanted to be fair. T'Challa, the Black Panther, under the, he came out with the Fantastic Four. But Debris, or she was Deborah Fields, or simply Debris, a superhero for Marvel Comics, came out in 2005, and she's made her place. She joined Captain America and the Secret Avengers. So she was the number one female black superhero. So you got T'Challa, the Black Panther, and you got Debris, both from Marvel Comics. And there were several others. The first one they listed was Cecilia Reyes, she's listed as number 20, but she gets a lot of popularity. She was a Puerto Rican woman who became a superhero. She hung out with the X-Men. Then you had a comic superhero called the Bumblebee, one called Thunder, Storm. We know Storm because that was Halle Berry in the, when she came out and she turned into that Storm and just could, do her thing. So over probably the last 30 years, maybe, there have been a lot of Black cartoonists who have created these figures and these superheroes. So that covers our cartoonist thing for the day. I'm gonna let you go to your Black History moment, Ronline, and we'll close out.
All right. Thank you so much for bringing that to our forefront. It's just a pleasure to be able to learn about these different people. And I've truly learned something today, and I will be doing my research. Today, I'm bringing to you a Black cartoonist, a woman, Barbara Brandon Croft. She uh, she came out in 1989 with her with the Detroit Free Press, and she's the one who also broke barriers into the world for cartoonists as a Black woman. And so we wanted to say our kudos to her. And just recently, I just learned about her. Her father, who was the creator of Luther, Brunswick Brandon. He's deceased now, but she was helping him, and this is how she got started. And so you may know her from doing her feature of Where I'm Coming From. And she did this dealing with Black women, people that she knew, and the roles that they played in the United States, as a mother, as a friend, as a sister, as an employer, as an employee, from all walks of life. And I urge you all today to learn a little bit about her as well. Now, her work of selected strips, along with the backstory of her career, was published by Drawn and Quarterly and won a National Association of Black Journalists Award for Outstanding Book of 2023. And I understand that she's been nominated, her work has been nominated with the Eisner Award for 2024. So we'll see if she actually, if she actually win it. So I turn this back over to you, Earl, to close us out.
Well, thank you for bringing that to us about that cartoonist. And of course, if you have a child who aspires to draw a lot, encourage them. Don't discourage them from drawing. Make sure you encourage them to draw during their free time, not during their class time, study time, homework time. And if they are so empowered to want to draw, I would encourage you as a parent, as a guardian, go out and buy them a set of color pencils or watercolors. Let them express that until they don't want to do it anymore. Because when we don't let that path happen, we lose some talent that we probably could have grown if we had just encouraged it a little bit more. I'm sure all these cartoonists we've shared with you and these animators, somebody encouraged them to carry that talent forward. So if you got a kid who likes to draw and can draw well, let me emphasize that, encourage them. Thank you so very much for being a part of our show today. We appreciate you joining us here on the Kitchings table. Thank you, Ronline, for bringing us that Black History moment. Subscribe to us if you like what we do, and send us a note. Let us know we're doing a good job. But until next week on the Kitchings Table here, Tuesday mornings at 10 o'clock, as we always say, go out and do something good for somebody. When? Go out and do it today.
Today.
Okay. Take care, everybody. Have a great week.
And thank you, Dr. Glenn Johnson, for your comments today.